sort of marriage that is managed with attention. We have the good fortune to have trained together. We have the good fortune to have done specific training together. I remember, for example, one of the particular training that we did in a cavern on the island of Sardinia to simulate these strange situations. And these simulations, they put us under stressful situations involving physical difficulties, involving even scary situations, so that your social screens, your own defenses fall away, and your aggressive side comes out, which are normally hidden within you. And so we've been able to train in this way, so we know that, or at least we try to measure and verify our behavior and the behavior of others, which is a very important thing that we're always doing. We're always getting and giving feedback. When we see somebody who's a little bit stressed, who's behaving slightly strange or different, before he understands it, we evidence that to him, so that because if you can stop things at the beginning, it's much easier to do that than once they've progressed. For example, as I always tell everybody, tell me if I'm doing something strange because I want to know it. I cannot correct what I don't know or understand about myself. It's also important, the point that you made. This is on the station. We have a place that on Earth, among nations that are not very friendly in a geopolitical or political or economic sense, but in space for this mission are the human species outside of the Earth, researching and conquesting it, well, in any case, exploring the universe. These nations have decided to put aside the differences and instead to utilize these differences by bringing them together, so that the result of all of these little differences of this comes into a singular identity that is greater and goes beyond what each single nation can bring, or each single person or agency can express. And perhaps this is the biggest result, greatest result so far of the International Space Station. It's helped us to see that when we want to, we can work together as human beings for something that brings us outside and above everything, or all difficulties. Well, it goes without saying, I think this is an important, very important value uh, for the adventure in space and the research in space at a distance from which you see the Earth. It makes it even more evident that we are all a part of humanity, that we are all human beings who inhabit the Earth. The method employed in the space station could be of some help to all of us from many points of view. Another thing that I wanted to know about, and to address it to Paolo Nespoli, knowing that he has a great deal of experience, all of the projects on which you're working, and that one half of your day that is dedicated to scientific work, they all certainly have fallout, important fallout on medical research, engineering research, materials research on Earth. Is it possible to describe some of these projects, because they have an interest that to us ordinary citizens can understand in terms of their relevance? What are some of the interesting examples of these projects that perhaps you can describe to us? Mr. President, this is the question that I'm often asked, and I'm very happy to respond to. Sincerely, I find it somewhat difficult to respond exactly to such question. Here we have about 300 experiments in the space station. The question is, which is the best, which is the most interesting, which is one that gives the best results? And that's not so hard not so easy to respond to, because most of the experiments have to do with basic things, with basic knowledge, things that for me also is difficult to understand. Rarely do they have an immediate use in a practical sense, because they have to do with expanding our knowledge, trying to understand how things work, to try to understand and to use this gravity-free environment in order to be able to do things that cannot be done on Earth. And I don't know examples that come to mind. For example, there's been a development of vaccine against salmonella, which was developed in space because this extraterrestrial environment causes viruses to become much more virulent, and so we are able to see them more clearly and to work with these viruses, for example. But there are so many applications that